Hi, my name's Jonathan. I'm mids and highs just about everywhere. And I work for a company called FlightAware. I've been doing like Mac administration for like 10 years now. Has anyone ever run a help desk? Like, okay, cool. That makes me feel better. There's a lot of really smart people in the room, and I've been enjoying being like the dumbest guy here for a while, so it's been kind of nice. I also want to start and say like I'm super grateful for like a lot of the people in this room. I've been using a lot of the open source tools that you guys have been writing over like the last 10 years of my life at 3 different jobs, so thanks. Cool, so we're FlightAware. We're not an airline. We have to clarify that a lot. And the short version is we track flights. We have about 100 discrete data sources, and we end up processing anywhere between like maybe 100 to 120 gigabytes of data a day. We run a free website for people. We also do data sales and all that kind of stuff. I've been with FlightAware for about 5 years, and prior to that, I was in higher ed. I managed about 3,000 Macintosh computers for Texas Tech University, and then moved into a larger, less siloed role for a smaller college there, and did like some database work for a school of art and whatever. After that, I went to FlightAware because I got kind of tired of living out in the desert. If you know where Texas Tech is, it's pretty far from civilization, so to speak. So FlightAware is in Houston. We have a presence in New York, Singapore, and Austin as well. And we also have 2 physical data centers in Houston and Dallas. When I started at FlightAware, there were probably about 25 employees. I was the only desktop guy, and I was one of 3 people on the ops team. There was a security network guy, myself, and then our IT director, and we did everything. There's maybe a 5-person on-call rotation for the entire website, which was a bit of an adjustment for me. I had not necessarily been playing with Nginx much in my free time, and then I was getting phone calls about it. So that was fun. When I started at FlightAware, we had a very traditional help desk setup. We had a FogBugs queue, and you emailed inbox at whatever, and then it got assigned to me, and then I determined how bad it was, and then figured out, using insert task management principle here, I use GTD, of when it gets done and prioritized and everything else. We eventually moved to Trello, and now we use Jira. The model that we were using for like, people email us or they ask us questions and then it happens, that was not scaling well. We're now at 90 employees. We have over 50 developers. We only have 3 desktop guys. And we end up, doing stuff for you, like for programmers and that kind of stuff. And so like a lot of our methods weren't necessarily scaling well. And we also just weren't getting a lot of this stuff done. We ended up like fighting fires 9 hours a day. It's like, oh man, there's all this stuff I want to do today, and then you get to work and everything's broken, or people need access, or they hired somebody and didn't tell you, or like, all this other kind of stuff. And then it's like, cool, I solved 11 tickets today, which is a pretty productive day, metric-wise, but I didn't get anything I needed done. I'm not in a better place than I was yesterday, and the same thing's going to happen tomorrow because I couldn't stave anything off. So we were doing like the ITIL thing, blah, blah, blah. And then when we moved to Trello, we started using it for our desktop work, which was actually a little bit interesting because I had never really seen anyone interact with it like that. And it actually really kind of like made our lives a lot better. So this is our Jira workflow for our desktop Kanban board. This is all like a little, and if you've done any kind of like software development like cycle, you guys have seen these things before, but usually these are associated with like bugs, tests to be run, these sort of things. But for us, all of these issues are access requests, hardware repairs, these sort of things. And actually, I'm going to get out of my presentation and actually show you our Kanban boards. Show you what the soup is made, so to speak. Oh God, the scaling. It's so gross. So this is actually my workplace. Oh God. I've been gone for 2 days. It's so bad. So how things come in is, we use Ready for Dev to see like whether or not we're actually going to like do something, make something happen. In progress is hopefully what you're actually working on. Investigate design actually lets us kind of put things on the back burner and collaborate better. We use that a lot for documentation creation. Peer review is also a good place for us to put things when we think that we want to actually put a knowledge base out, because we can say, you know, like we need to make sure that a user understands how to use this and that kind of stuff. Something that we also ended up doing after we had been doing this for about a year, we ended up adding another resource to our team, and his name's Kyle. It's pretty cool. And we brought in, and he showed us something that actually Slack had done, Jira had done a while back, where they were actually like using this like weird service desk model to actually do asset tracking. And so we started doing that too. So this ticket that I have pulled up here is actually blocked. It's blocked because our coworker Oliver works in Singapore, and we're going to give him a new laptop next week. And we are blocked by the fact that he is on the other side of the planet. So if you click on it, you can see that we actually have an asset assigned to it, which is an entirely different project board, which I'll show you on this 4th tab. One of the benefits of having this asset stuff inside of here is we can actually have a bunch of like searchable information and create a bunch of metrics based on that without having to like spin up Snipe It or something else, or like use some other sort of solution. This is tailored to us, and we just asked our Jira admin to do the thing for us, and it was pretty easy. One of the other bonuses of this is that we have this thing called Intact, which is how we do financial stuff, and everything inside of there has like, you know, like these numbers are not attached to the actual asset tags of the machines or anything else, because they're made up and arbitrary, and sometimes orders with, you know, come in from the financial stuff that we can't necessarily associate with. Like if we order a bunch of machines at one time, but there are also a bunch of, you know, other things coming in from other places, it's difficult for us to like keep that inside of there. So our financial person, who is not very tech savvy, can just pull up Jira, click on this asset, and see where inside of her system the PO is tracked and everything else, which is kind of nice. We also have this dumb little dashboard that we've made, which shows us like everything that's in place and all that other kind of stuff, and things that needs to be obsolete or pending, or like we need to repair, and all of this. A bonus for this is that this is a really easy place to point someone since they're in Confluence all day. You can just say, hey, click on this link, and then a C-level or someone else can actually like figure that out. So we've been doing, I'm going to pop back into Keynote now. So we've been doing this kind of like Kanban model for desktop support for like maybe a year now. I presented it at our Houston Apple Admins event maybe like 8 months ago, and it went pretty well. It ended up, people stopped using Jira Service Desk and just started using this as a result, because it was easier to do and cheaper. And for us, what it's allowed us to do is we can't, oh man, this typo, that's so rough. Rurality, that's sad. Anyway, we have faster response times. Right now, we can typically get someone access to a server within 3 minutes. It's pretty fast. We have a lot less, like typically in our old Fogbucks model, like someone will put in a ticket and be like, hey, it would be really cool if we could get insert text editor here installed into the managed software center for us to use. It's like, cool, that sounds great. Email us, we'll make it happen. They email us, it gets into the pile, and then it just never went anywhere. Now we're able to sit there and prioritize and do stuff, and then we can, you know, typically respond to things within like a day. Using these kind of methods also allows us to get more planned work done because we can score things. For example, an access request for someone is usually like we use the Fibonacci like scoring point sequence. Like access request is 0.5, but for example, me setting up Monkey Report, that's probably a 5 because I'm probably going to have to build a VM to do it. I'm going to have to, you know, make sure that all the dependencies are set up. I'm going to have to make a DNS change and those kind of things. When they talk about like the agile methods or whatever, they talk a lot like about like requirements and that kind of stuff. And what I mean about this rurality over quantity for documentation is that inside of Jira, we're able to give a specific component for what we call knowledge transfer. which is kind of cheeky, but it's basically, hi, I'm not sure how to copy paste this. Hi, I am not sure to do this sort of thing. And using these kind of knowledge transfer methods, we're able to see what people actually would like a K-base for. Because it's like, hey, we have 10 knowledge transfer tickets about Expand Drive, which is this application that we use pretty frequently for people to, it's an SSH over FTP client that lets you use a standard text editor or whatever, and that kind of stuff. And it also gives us, as desktop guys, like a more complete view of our stack. Like, we're kind of like the first line for everyone. So, hey, this database is running slow. Do you guys know anything about it? It's like, well, we kind of do, because I set up your account. Let's go take a look and see. Oh, man, like, there are a bunch of stale locks, or like, whatever. And one of the bonuses is, like, it gives us a much less siloed view of desktop support and the company as a whole. One of the biggest, like, I would say, like, weird things, and they talked about it on the panel yesterday, and they've mentioned it, and I'm sure those of you are aware, like, help desk and desktop support can be kind of seen as like a kind of like low-level, like, thankless job because of, it's not, you don't see rock star desktop support guys. Like, that's not a thing that necessarily happens. But this gives us a little bit of an opportunity to really, like, flex and give people opportunities to learn and associate with technologies that they weren't necessarily associated with or able to actually learn inside of an actual work environment, and not necessarily say, like, I would like to learn how to manage databases. So I need to spin up my home lab and do that on the time, on my own time while I am doing this. No, like, that's a part of your job, and that's a thing that you can do. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm eager if you guys have any, like, input on what you think might work better. We're super interested in that and making things faster. Thanks for your time. I know I'm standing in between everyone at lunch, so thank you.